Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
I'll tell you what, I love ice cream, but I don't think I would be allowed to take 3 weeks off to go on an ice cream tour of Pennsylvania. But it would be a lot of fun. And I would head up to the Creamery in Penn State. I know that's Chris Mueller's one of his favorite places up there to get ice cream. Penn State Creamery. They got a ton of good flavors out there. All right, thanks a lot for joining us tonight. 412-575-2600 is the number. There's Chris right there. Give us a call tonight. We can talk ice cream. We can also talk about the Penguins. And it's frustrating what some of these players said, specifically Letang. He said, a lot of change takes time for the teams to develop and the personnel. Coming ahead an entire year. And then Carlson talks about he can't pinpoint. How about giving up 2-goal leads and the defense and the goaltending?
I have a real problem with both of those guys in particular kind of making excuses, especially Erik Karlsson. I think everybody's battling injuries this time of year. Mike Sullivan suggested Letang was really fighting some stuff. I maybe would be inclined to give him a little bit of a pass for that, but still not much of one. The Karlsson thing is what really bugs me, Richie. It really does, because that guy he was brought here in the trade. They basically couldn't trade him anywhere else in San Jose. They had to do this deal. So we all praised Kyle Dubas for it. He was supposed to make the power play hum. He didn't. He was supposed to be such an offensive force. He wasn't. That you overlooked his defensive lapses. Oh, they were there. And hearing Erik Karlsson kind of go whoa, back to the drawing board, it's frustrating. The whole team is going a little bit stale. And I think for a long time, Richie, Penguins fans in this town, people who maybe, you always have a fandom that's a little stronger maybe for one team than the other. And one thing that people who were Penguins fans first and foremost could sort of lord over the other teams in town for the last decade or so was the Penguins didn't just talk about having a championship standard. They had gone out and actually achieved it, back-to-back, as a matter of fact. Now they're starting to sound and look like every other team in town. An excuse here, an excuse there. Oh, we'll figure it out. They need to shake things up, and the problem is they are contractually in a situation where they are incapable of doing that unless multiple players waive no movement clauses, which seems like a highly unlikely thing as far as it happening this offseason.
Even if they waive it, who wants them at that price? And what can you get in return other than just maybe losing the contract?
Well, Letang, I think, would be somebody in demand. I know we just talked about being frustrated with him, but he's still a bargain given his number. Malkin could be a bargain. If he played the way he played down the stretch all year, he'd be an exceptional bargain. You wouldn't even want him to waive anything. Karlsson, I don't think you get him to go anywhere other than Ottawa, where he still makes his home in the offseason. They're so pot committed on Karlsson specifically, though. I feel like they're going to see this through for another year. And really, the guy at the top of the heap here is the guy that I think doesn't want anything to change. And I'm not talking Crosby, although you could say that about him, but he's sort of off to the side, Richie, because he did his part pretty much all year.
Yeah.
Mike Sullivan, I think, still is just like, hey, I like these guys. I believe in these guys. And despite all evidence to the contrary, I'll say we need to make changes, and then nothing really different's going to happen. By the way, what do you do with Tristan Jarry? You want to talk about a contract nobody wants that you'd probably be motivated to move. There's a guy who's making way too much money to be a mediocre, and that's being charitable, goaltender.
Yeah, I would imagine he is not in their long-term plans right now. It's the contract that's going to hold them back.
I was just going to say,
someone might take a chance on him, though, right?
You say he's not in their long-term plans, but by definition he is because, But who, Richie, you say, just for argument's sake, the GM here said goaltending is voodoo, and then they went on and gave Jarry that deal. Who out there in the NHL, unless you've got some sort of crazy old-school GM who, A, thinks that that you can permanently fix a goaltender, and B, thinks that Tristan Jarry is the man, to be fixed, other than that pretty unlikely scenario, I really don't see another team that would look at his body of work, especially this year, and the fact that he got replaced down the stretch for the most crucial games of the year and say, ooh, yeah, let's take a shot on that guy at $5 million plus.
If a team has cap space and they don't have to give up much, they have nothing to lose maybe to take him on and think that they can fix him, right? He's shown flashes years prior to this of maybe potentially being that guy. He'd had his ups and downs, Chris, but You know, I think there would be a team potentially that would say, you know what, let's take a chance. We don't have to give anything up to get him. And then the Penguins could eventually lose $5 million.
Richie, it sounds really nice in practice, but the likelihood of that happening is about the same as the likelihood of me holding my hand out here into space and somebody dropping a delicious waffle cone filled with cookie jar flavored ice cream into it. None and nil.
All right, we got to take a break, and we got some phone calls. Our lines are jam-packed right now, so give us a call if you get a chance. If it's busy, keep trying. 412-575-2600 is the number. All right, welcome back. This is our GMC Tweet of the Night. Look at those numbers, 12 2/3 innings pitched for Paul Skenes. This is a AAA starts right now, 5 hits, 27 Ks. The guy has thrown he has the 104 fastest pitches out of 105 pitches for starters in AAA. An amazing stat. The guy is hitting 100 plus multiple times. And look, Chris, I see both arguments to this, why he should be here and why he shouldn't be here. I'm kind of on the side that he shouldn't be here yet, just because I want the extra year of service time for him, the extra year of arbitration. I think, and plus some development too, work his way up here. But the other side of it, the flip side of it, I don't want him throwing his arm out in AAA before he even gets here.
Well, two different things. The other year of service time, or the extra year of service time, already went by the wayside unless when he comes up, like they already got that locked in, unless when he comes up he's so good that he's top 2 in Rookie of the Year, in which case he accrues it. The extra year of arbitration, or having him not be a Super 2 player like it is every year, is a moving target. I frankly don't care about Super 2 for this particular case because the guy appears to be that good. If the team is hanging around contention, you have even more reason in a potentially division that has no elite team but maybe several competent teams. You have every reason to try to bring him up to kind of goose your odds. I think what they are doing with him ultimately is smart. And for this reason, we know that there's an epidemic of arm injuries across baseball for pitchers. Marco Gonzalez might be the latest victim of it. Who knows? We know that they're being cautious with Jared Jones. They want to put Skenes on a pro throwing track, which is once every 5 days. You're going out and taking the ball. They want to build him up gradually, i.e. not waste too many pitches in AAA. I expect him to be up on the big club by this time next month, probably a little earlier, probably 3.5 weeks from now.
You think before June?
I think he's going to be up in mid-May. I really do. Unlike Jared Jones, where they're keeping the pitches down probably every 4th start, I suspect that's what you're going to see. Jones has been on a professional pitching schedule since he was right out of high school because he got drafted straight out of high school. Skenes pitched once every 7 days at LSU. The Pirates are just trying to work him into that groove of once every 5. And I think he's going to make 2 more starts maybe, Richie. Maybe 3 more starts in AAA, and then I think you're going to see him up here with the big club.
Well, he definitely has nothing more to prove in AAA. Let's go out to Chuck in Uniontown. How you doing, Chuck?
Good evening, fellows, and thank you. Yeah, about the Pirates, and right now their upcoming schedule, I see this as a pivotal point because we've got a 7-game homestand against 2 pretty good clubs, the Red Sox and the Brewers, and I think that, this is a disastrous series in New York.
Yeah.
We're still, even with losing all 3 in New York, we're still 8-6 on the road. Still no reason to think that the season is going sour. But the 7-game homestand, we need to put the tourniquet in the bleeding right now because the 7-game homestand, we need to go 5-2 because we've got a lot of home games coming up.
Chuck, that would be great if you could go 5-2.
I'll actually say Chuck's being a little too rich for my blood. I think 4-3 on this homestand is fine.
Yeah.
I think you just win more than you lose. You come out of this homestand 4-3. You're a 15-11 ball club. For me, that's fine. 5-2. Then you're what? You're 16-10. You're starting to feel real good about yourself. But I say go 4-3. And show me a couple of things, that your bullpen situation has stabilized, and now you've got Chapman on a 2-game suspension. Goodness knows what he actually said to earn that one. I can't even imagine what you could say in Spanish to earn a 2-game suspension. And I also need to see, and I think this is where I would imagine Chuck agrees, he's a keen observer of this ball club, but you need to see like the Henry Davises of the world. the O'Neal Cruzes, the guys that are supposed to be foundational, cornerstone pillars of a contender for the next half decade, you would hope, start looking like it. Davis looks lost at the plate, Richie. He's getting thrown. You know what's the really bad sign with him? I think teams are still paying Cruz respect by trying to throw him off speed stuff. He's being very passive early in the count, but teams are just challenging Henry Davis, saying, here's a fastball. You're the #1 overall pick in 2021. Go hit it. And he can't do that. I don't think you'd see them do that to Cruz because I think the ball would go over the fence. So the fact that teams are challenging Henry Davis the way they are and winning routinely is very troubling for him.
Yeah, that's his strength, hitting, too. So he was the #1 college hitter the year they drafted him. Let's go out to Ray in Whitehall. How you doing, Ray?
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I have a problem with Cherington. I know we're talking a lot about the pitching and Jones and pitch counts, but the fact that he's been here 4 or 5 years and the only hitting prospects that have been able to crack our lineup are #1 picks such as O'Neal Cruz and Henry Davis, and you got Hayes. But I think that it's imperative for them to quickly develop the hitting because you don't want to see this pitching go by the wayside. And I wanted to know if you thought they would consider moving Cruz to the outfield because you have Peguero, you have Gonzalez, and the other top hitting prospects are shortstop or second baseman.
Yeah, Ray, I'll take that second question first. I know I was in spring training for a few years. I didn't go this year, but that was talked about him potentially moving to right field or the outfield, and he doesn't want to do it. O'Neal Cruz wants to be a shortstop. So I think if they even want to consider signing him to a long-term deal, they kind of got to promise him to play shortstop. So that's what I know from previous conversations I've had there.
Well, I mean, he's got nimble enough feet, I think, to stick around at that position as long as he doesn't bulk up too much. I mean, eventually guys his height usually put on a decent amount of weight, and then I think he would just weigh himself out of playing shortstop. But, you know, all those bats, Peguero, Gonzalez is Cherington's first-round pick, his first ever draft pick. I have hardly a belief that he's going to be a good major league hitter, and I do think what the caller there presents is a valid question and concern. Where is the consistent hitting outside of guys that are supposedly can't-miss prospects? And where is the ability to adjust? It feels like it was 3 months ago and not 2 weeks ago where we were praising this team for their patient approach at the plate and working counts deep and then still getting hits. Well, now teams have adjusted. They're challenging the Pirates a little bit early in counts, and the Pirates aren't really adjusting to it. I think all of that is pretty troubling.
You know, I don't want to defend Ben Cherington here, but I am a little bit. You know, he's handcuffed with the guys that he can go out and sign, right? But how many years do you give a general manager when he takes over, you know, a team that's in disarray? So Nick Gonzalez should be up here at this point, you would think. He was his first draft pick. Henry Davis, both guys were the best hitters in college baseball. Both guys aren't really panning out. So maybe you blame him for him, but I think you still need a couple more years to see if some of these other guys develop and pan out.
Well, your first question is the one I want to answer, Richie. So you say how many years should you give a GM before he's expected to have turned things around? When did Neil Huntington take over? Late 2007. So 2008 was his first draft. 2013, that team won 94 games. When did Ben Cherington take over? When was his first draft? You kind of get the idea here.
Yeah.
He's pretty much at the end of the line as far as a tenure in terms of not having produced a winner. This is a monster year for him because if the Pirates end up being like a 75-win team, I don't think there's really any justification for keeping Ben Cherington around because his plan will not have yielded any tangible fruit at that point.
Yeah, I know that their projections were 25, they were going to be competitive, right? 24, they were supposed to take that step to showing that they are competitive. So you're right, this is a huge year. Let's go out to Dave in the north side. How you doing, Dave?
Yeah, I don't know why the Penguins got rid of Nylander. That was wrong because he don't like to play young guys. I don't know why. Tell me why.
You know, this goes back to what you were saying earlier, Chris. I mean, Mike Sullivan might be the issue here. I mean, what do you do? Maybe you seriously take a good look at your head coaching and your coaching staff this offseason as well.
Todd Reardon's going to get fired, and he should, because not only does he work with the power play, he works with the defensemen. And even though Jack St. Ivany and Ryan Shea came up and looked pretty good, the two guys making the most money on the blue line, Carlson and Letang, especially Carlson, just made some mind-numbing plays all season long, really. Mike Sullivan's not going to get fired, though. Should he? No. I think so. This team, I mean, at bare minimum.
You need something.
Well,
you need a change, right?
Richie, quickly, here's what I'll say they should do because it's worked for them twice in the past. They should say, Mike, you're coming back. We like you. We still believe in you, but you've got till Christmas. And if this team gets off to a very slow start and we don't see the kind of changes we want to see in terms of strategy, philosophy, playing younger guys, whatever it is, you're gone. Last 2 times they've changed a coach mid-season, Richie. Would you like to tell me what happened?
Yeah, they went to the Cup. That was the.
They won 2 cups. They won them both. Bilesma and Sullivan, they won them both. They changed midstream, and they won the Cup that year. That should be all the justification the Pittsburgh Penguins, as looking back at their own history, should need to move on from Mike Sullivan pretty soon next year if things don't look the way they want them to look.
Yeah, I just still think this team is far removed, far away from a Stanley Cup contender. All right, we got to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls coming up next. Here we go.